the way that this works, because a couple of new folks in the room, is that first we have our announcements, which we've just gone through. Next, we're going to have, just a brief meditation between 5 and 10 minutes to start us off, to get us centered in the room. And then we'll begin satsang. I will begin to give a teaching. And you are very much encouraged to ask questions. Questions really drive satsang and make satsang rich, okay? When you ask your questions, there's a mic on either side of the room. Please speak into the mic so everyone can hear you here and everyone can hear you in Facebook land. And whatever direction satsang goes in, it goes in. This is something that is generated, okay? And we generate it together. And then at the end, we have about a 20-minute meditation to finish up, and that will be the end of our beautiful satsang. Okay, so any questions about that? Okay. So let's start with our initial meditation. You can sit up straight. Make sure that you're very comfortable so that, your body is not distracting you. Meditation is marked by by the bell, the beginning and end. And when I ring the bell, notice how it clears your mind and brings your attention right to the present moment. And when the bell fades, just try and stay with your attention in that clear space in this moment, and I will guide you through it. Okay? Close your eyes. And we'll begin by taking 3 deep, relaxing breaths together. First deep breath in and hold. And exhale. Second breath in and hold and exhale. Third breath in and hold and exhale. Now continue breathing deeply but gently into your abdomen. And I encourage you to breathe more and more slowly until you're breathing as slowly as possible without it being at all uncomfortable. As you're breathing slowly, allow the muscles in your body to relax. With each exhale, let the tension fall from your body. As you're less tense, you'll feel gravity holding you in the seat. It will feel very relaxing. Let all the tension go in your body until even the most subtle tension is gone. As you're breathing slowly, bring your attention to the muscles in your face, particularly around your eyes and eyebrows, your jaw. And with each exhale, allow those muscles to relax until they are completely relaxed. Make sure that your eyes are not moving around underneath your eyelids. Make sure that your eyes are perfectly still, resting, facing forward, peacefully underneath your eyelids. Begin to become aware of the room that you're in. Be very present to the sensory input you are receiving. Sounds, smells, tastes, sensations on your skin. And without thinking about it, just be present to where you are. Feel this sensory input, but don't feel the need to think about it, label it, judge it. Just be present. Now see if you can sense the energy of the room. If you just feel a peaceful energy. See if you can feel the energy of the beings in the room. And as we connect and we create this space, just have warm wishes for the people around you and yourself. And take a few moments to just be present and to allow your nature of loving kindness to shine through unabated by the mind. And relax in this state until you hear the bell. Welcome to Satsang. Good to see you. Feeling present after that meditation? Doesn't it feel nice? That's the experience that I'm always trying to guide you toward, to point you toward. You notice that when you're just here with me in this moment and nowhere else, you know, what problem do you have? I always like to start with the meme that I send around to just kind of get us kicked off. I send this every week. I email it and I text it to you, so you know that we're at least going to start with that. You can think about it a little bit if you like. This was a very simple one. It says, it seems that we live life as though it's a problem to solve. Ultimately, you realize that there are no problems. I always get a lot of resistance when I tell people there are no problems. Why would I say that? There are no problems. Do you think that's possible? Does it feel like you have a lot of problems and your life is one problem after another? Mm-hmm. Does it feel like you have a lot of problems? there's a specific reason, that I wanted to point to this. Because when we feel like we have these problems, like life is this one big long problem somehow, and we spend our life, like trying to solve the problem instead of just living. And the mistake that many of us make is that we sort of play bocce with our happiness. We like throw it over there, we throw the ball over there, and then we say, okay, once I get there, then I'll be happy. And then you get there, and what happens? You pick the ball up and you throw it, you throw it again. Okay, now I got to be over there. Because once you get there, you realize there's no there. Huge mistake. You'll wish your life away. There was a time in your life that you would have killed to be in the position you're in right now. And now that you're there, you're like, now I want to be over there. And it's foolishness. The first thing that you have to realize, and I mean this lovingly, I don't mean this in any morbid way, is that this is a temporary experience and that you're going to die. And you're not taking any of this stuff with you. Wouldn't that be a bad joke if you died and you were like, all of a sudden all your stuff was there? And you're like, damn! I knew that was a lie! Life is right now. There's a Zen saying that says, if not now, when? The only moment that you have is now. Why not make now the most amazing moment of your life? We live in such a way that we are believing that there is some past and future. And that when I get to the future, then I'm going to be happy. It's going to be easy when I'm there. But the future never comes, does it? Free beer tomorrow. Free cervezas mañana, right? It never comes. The only way that we experience the future is how? Simple. We've talked about it. In our heads. In the form of thoughts in our minds. Imagination. And the same goes for the past. The only way that we experience the past is in thoughts in our head in the form of memories. But a past and a future don't exist. There's only the moment that you're in. Now. Now, in Native American culture, they refer to life as the eternal moment. Isn't that an interesting way of saying it? The eternal moment. I was talking to someone, I can't remember who it was now, off the top of my head, because I have a good memory, it's just really short. And we were talking about how most people are waiting for someone to invite them to do something. And most people don't get up and organize something and invite people and do that. Most people like to be invited but don't like to invite. They don't like to run things. They don't like to step up and step out and try new things. And, and I was like that too. You understand what I'm talking about? Do you relate to that at all? Right? It's like most people are like, well, if someone sets something up, I'll go. But, I'm not really going to step out myself. I've lived kind of both of these things, because once we started doing adventure clubs, now it's been years we've been doing adventure clubs. Now I'm the guy that's inviting everybody, you know what I mean? And I'm the guy that's setting it up. And at first it was a little scary and a little weird, and, always tried to make it as perfect as I could and didn't want to make a mistake and all that other stuff. And, there was some stress involved with it, but now it's just really fun. It's become so second nature to me. And I'm having fun, like Peanut Island was amazing. I mean, it was really amazing, and I so loved it. And I'm like, it's not really expensive or anything like that. I'm like, I've been living here for 15 years. Why have I never done this? We live some contracted sometimes, and we live like life is a problem and we're trying to solve, and when I get all this stuff figured out, then I can do that stuff, and you end up missing it. I just turned 52. I was 36 like 3 weeks ago. and once you hit 40, your warranty runs out. Things just start breaking. And you go to the doctor, and the doctor says, well, your knee's worn out or your ankle's worn out. And you say, okay, what do we do? It's like, well, that's just kind of how it is for you now. And then 50 comes, and your body's telling you, this ain't forever. You just know it. And so for me, a big part of these adventure club trips too is that they're like functional training for me. My background is in personal training, so I want to get out there and I want to be pitching tents and setting up tent sites and dragging logs and doing things because it keeps me young, it keeps me vibrant. Body, mind, and spirit. I really feel good, and I love being in nature. When I stop moving is when I really start getting old. When I keep moving, I feel younger. So I'm always encouraging you, to come to adventure club trips, to join us. We always have such a nice time together, don't we? You all are just such wonderful people. And there's just something about the energy of the Peaceful Mind Center that when we're together, it's just a different vibe. It's fun to be together. It's like the egos are put aside, and we just have fun, and it's really, really nice. We had some nice conversations on the beach. I think maybe after you left. No. They were about you. No. But it was just, Greg, you were there, right? And it was just, we just started having, we just started talking about life. And important things, and it really connected us. It was really nice. So, I'm encouraging you to recognize if you are living like life is a problem. Life is just happening. And most of it you don't control. So it's not your responsibility. It's not your problem. And what you're really doing in life, whether you realize it or not, is you're managing yourself in the face of what's happening that you don't control. And where you get comfortable in life is when you trust yourself to not come off the rails when something happens that your mind does not want to happen. That's when life really starts to become interesting and enjoyable, because you don't live in fear anymore. Because what you really fear is not what happens. What you fear is how you're going to feel inside in the face of what happens. And we've all felt terrible. You know, we've all been on the bathroom floor crying in the fetal position. And when you know that about each other, you just want to go around giving everybody hugs. You know, like, we're all human. We've all been there. That's an internal state, not an external state. And so, in your practice, as you begin to master your internal state through understanding, you know, and what you're understanding is understanding what you're practicing. And when you understand what you're practicing on a daily basis, then your practice becomes fruitful. Many people who come to the Peaceful Minds Center within usually 6 months to a year seem to always come back to me. I hear this over and over again. They say, Tom, I don't know what happened, but the things that used to bother me just don't bother me anymore. And I don't know where it happened, and I don't know why, but it just doesn't bother me anymore. And what's happening is that you are coming out of identification with mind. You are losing interest in the thoughts in your own mind. And the whole time, what you were suffering were your thoughts about what's happening and not what's happening itself. That seems kind of silly, doesn't it? We have stories about life, about how life should be, and this is how I want it, and when life doesn't match our story, we get mad at life. Instead of throwing the story in the garbage, who would you be without your story about how life should be? What if you were just in the moment, smelling the flowers, watching the birds? How would you feel? What if you didn't put any requirements on life? What if life didn't have to be any certain way and you embraced it as it is? What would you suffer? We create our own suffering for ourselves, and we don't even realize that we're doing it. Especially in romantic relationships. Because it's always your fault. I feel like terrible inside, and it's because you are not doing what you should be doing. It's terrible. It's foolishness. Destroys relationships. Easily. Any comments or questions about that so far? Are you relating to what I'm saying? Am I putting a big spotlight on your humanness? Because awareness is such a huge part of our practice. You can't fix or change, what you're not aware of, So you first have to become aware of what how ridiculous it is to be human, how ridiculous we are. It's ridiculous to create a story in your mind, and then when life doesn't look like that story, you be mad at life. That's like ridiculous. It's almost like you said, okay, how can I find a way to suffer this life? And I always like to say that I don't know where we've come from. We woke up here. And I don't know where we're going to after this. And I don't know what this is about. But what I know for sure is that we're here. And if we're going to be here, then let's not suffer here. That's all I'm saying. Satsang is about having the most fun, amazing, awesome life you can possibly have. Totally fun. And when you understand your mind and you understand what it is to be human, which, by the way, is completely illogical and unreasonable, there's nothing logical about human beings. Well, when you understand your humanness and you can work with it and you can embrace it, now you can surf it like a wave and you can really have fun with it. The suffering you create for yourself in your own mind, period. When you're happy in your mind. And when you're suffering in your mind. And most people know zero about their mind. That doesn't make any sense. There's been some people really struggling lately. I don't know if there's something in the air. You know, sometimes there's some sort of collective energy or something like that, like the collective consciousness. Sometimes we feel the buzz of what's happening in the world or whatever. But it seems some people have been struggling. So I want to talk with you next about, you know, sort of what to do when your mind is coming off the rails. Sound like an interesting conversation. Everybody getting their notebook out? It's I think that one of the most frustrating things of being human is that when I say coming off the rails, what I mean typically is we're in pain. And we're very, very different people when we're in pain. Do you notice that you're a different person when you're in pain when I point it out? Things that maybe normally wouldn't bother you. That you don't even understand your own thinking and your own behavior when you're in pain. The things you're saying, the things you're doing. We lash out when we're in pain. And the one thing that we want when we're in pain is to not be in pain. We're all here intelligent people here. Intelligent beings' tendency is to always try to think themselves out of pain. That does not work well. You can't think yourself into proper thinking, right? So you have to be very, very careful and very, very aware when you're in this very terrible state. Because what happens, I've been talking about this a lot lately, is that pain will start to arise in you. And I'm talking mostly about like the emotional pain. You know, like something will happen and, you know, you just get that weird energy starts to build in your chest and your abdomen. And you feel off. You feel weird. That's where it starts. Everybody familiar here with what I'm talking about? Anybody not familiar? Okay. It's very important that when you're in pain, that the first thing that you do is realize that pain is present. Because if you don't realize it, it's going to be in the back seat driving the car. Because what's the next thing that happens when after pain arises? You get sucked up into your head. And pain tends to generate negative thinking, negative thoughts. This world sucks. I hate that person. Why did they do that? Look at, you know, they're wrong. They're this, they're that. I'm such a good person. Why they got to be that way to me? And My life's never going to be what I want it to be. I'm never going to get what I want. Why is it always this way for me? Why does everybody else have everything? I don't have nothing. And then the pain starts to feed on the negative thoughts that it's creating. And it's inspiring, we can say. And so now there's more pain. So now there's more negativity. And then more pain. And that's what coming off the rails is. Now you're in this very, very emotionally painful state. And your mind has been taken over to the point where you can't see clearly. So you're not perceiving clearly. You're not choosing clearly. You're not speaking clearly. You're speaking from a painful place. And you're probably being a real jerk. And there's probably a little voice in the back of your head saying, don't say that. Don't do that. You're going to so regret this. Don't do it. And your ego's like, shut up. Roar. And you go.
I wish I had that talk. I know. Maybe I could talk myself out.
It's... And so what I'm trying to help you do is break all of this down and become present to how this happens. Because if you don't break it down and see the mechanism of it, it shows up as one thing. I'm just coming off the rails and angry. You know? But when you break it down like that, and you can see that first it starts with pain, then negative thoughts, then negative emotions and anger and these types of things, you know, you can kind of nip it in the bud, which is very important. Because one thing is for sure, none of us want to feel this way. None of us. True? So we know that we are not, hang on, I just want to bring the, damn it, I'm like, okay, I can't really see. Sorry about that. Your eyes will adjust. There you are. We don't want to feel that way. Too much, Todd? Yes, sorry. Todd's gonna put his sunglasses on. All right. Better? Okay. All right, I promise I'll never do that again. Yes. Does the light go off in your head, or just right next to you? You know, it's a state that none of us want to feel, and yet we're generating it for ourselves. That state does not come from outside you, although your mind will gladly convince you of that. It is only the psychological formations that you're suffering. And when I say psychological formation, I mean, you know, a gangle of thoughts and the sensations that are connected with them is a psychological formation, and you suffer that psychological formation that you created inside you. No one can put it inside you. Now that's good news, because if someone could do that, there'd be nothing you can do about it. But when you're doing it to you, you can stop it. And you're doing it to you. It's the only way that it can happen. And it's amazing how easy it is to get into those states. Isn't it? It's like, yeah, the simplest things can send you spinning. Someone cuts you off on the road and you're like, in your mind for 10 minutes, having a conversation about what a jerk that person is. Yeah, is that you? I want to introduce you to somebody. This is my good friend, Scott Johnson, retired trooper from New Jersey. we went to college together. So when I tell you that I was, Thursday nights for a little bit, right? I think neither one of us made it out, but when we were rolling the kegs down into the frat house, he was helping me. So he is not allowed to use the mic or talk. Yeah, that's true. That is true. Goes both ways. But very, very good friend of mine, and honored to have you here. So welcome. We're so easily, brought into those states, and those states are so painful, and we don't want them, that we know that this is not happening consciously. Because we would never, ever create that state for ourselves consciously. True? So we have to bring consciousness to how this is happening. And maybe not even how. Maybe we just need to bring consciousness to that it is happening. Because a lot of times we're 20 steps into it before we even realize, oh my God, I'm about to hit somebody I love over the head with a baseball bat, And a lot of times it's the people you love the most are the ones that you're let's just call it the toughest on, And so this state, this painful, uncomfortable, nasty state that we don't want to experience, arises within us unconsciously. So is everybody with me to this point? Do you have any questions about what I'm saying? Makes sense, right, what I'm saying? And you've experienced it for yourself, right? Because remember, I don't want you to believe. I don't want you to believe anything that I say, okay? I want you to just hold up what I'm saying to what you're experiencing, and make sure and see if it's making clear what you're experiencing. You know what I mean? If it's not, throw it in the garbage. But Kim?
This is my big issue, and I was having an incident yesterday, and I it's that getting from where you start, my heart starts racing, and all this, I start thinking, why would you say that? Why are you doing this? Anyway, and it's my mother that I have the most issue with. So I have to be careful, But I thought of you because it was happening to me and my heart started racing, and I said, I'm not going to do it. What would Tommy say? I need like a sign in my car. What would Tommy tell me right now? So I looked at my mother and I said, I'm not. She went in my closet after I told her not to and changed all my hangers. Crazy, right?
That
out of the blue. I know, and I'm really particular, so that made me crazy. And I looked at her, I said, I'm not going to get angry with you. I'm going to take the next hour to put everything back together again, and I'm going to hug her and tell her I love her, and somehow this is the only time I've ever been able to really stop myself.
Wow.
Because I've been working on this for
Good,
a while.
good.
And I don't know how it happened, but somehow I loved her instead of wanting to kill her in that moment, because I thought she really did that to try to be nice, even though somehow it's such a crazy thing to do.
Well, it's not in her mind.
No, I know, and that's why I stopped and I said, I love you that you took your time to play in my closet.
Yeah.
But
and what felt better?
I don't know. No, but I looked at her and I hugged her, and I told myself, like, love her.
Yeah.
Don't hate her. Love her.
And when you did, how did you feel inside?
Much better. No, it passed away. It was gone. And
it was gone.
And then the next day I reflected on it, which was today.
And right.
I reflected on it, and I thought to myself, from standing back a day, I can look upon it and go, well, that was ridiculous. Yes, she did something that for someone like me gives me anxiety and tics, but I didn't let it bother me, and I just want this is the first time, so I'm just excited, and I'm hearing everything that you're saying.
Yeah.
I carry you with me every day. That's
wow, I'm honored, and I'm very careful about what I teach you and what I share with you, because I know that what I say to you is very important. And you know, I've been studying this for many, many, many years, probably 25 years, and you know, I've experienced it too. And so, you know, like what you were experiencing was that you didn't allow yourself to get hijacked by your mind. You stayed in your
And
heart.
I said, I'm not going to, I don't know if you said it, like, or somewhere I read it in something, that not to let someone take your peace. I thought
Yeah,
you
I've
said
said
it.
that a million times. Yeah.
And that's what I kept telling myself. Don't let her take
And-
that.
and-
Don't let the closet, not my
Right,
mother.
right.
Don't let the closet take my peace.
yeah, and,
you know? So I got
and
silly
what I would-
about it. I made jokes about it.
Yeah.
And
What I would say too, what I say more accurately is don't give your peace away. You know? And see, here's the thing, is that like that those feelings in your body are like your compass. They're telling you what direction to go in, but you got to listen. This feels good. This doesn't feel good. Which way do you want to go? This way. You know, we just habitually go this way. And there's something you have to understand, that we are absolute like slaves to our conditioned mind and our habituation. We've been doing it this way for so long that we don't even realize that we're doing it. And what you did was you stopped your habituation. You brought consciousness into it. You said, this reaction does not feel good to me, and I want to feel good. Well, what's going to make me feel good? Allowing my nature of loving kindness to shine through. This is my mother. I love my mother. She did something out of her heart that she thought was a kind thing for me. And I appreciate the energy behind that. A lot of times, they give you another. Your parents, you know, they say that people push your buttons, right? But your parents installed your buttons. So, you know, your parents are very important people in your practice, because they're going to really get right to the root of what sets you off, you know? One of the things that I learned with my parents is, you know how like at the UN they have those little white boxes and everybody listens through an interpreter? Well, I've learned to listen through an interpreter what my mom's saying, you know, particularly my mom, my dad too. So like when my mom says something like, when are you going to get a real job? You know, I hear, I love you and I want you to have the best life possible. Because that's really what she's trying to say in her own mixed up way. You know, my parents love me very much. They've been very kind to me. I've been toe to toe with my dad. You know what I mean? We had our, you know, certainly had our issues when I was younger. But one thing for sure, they really love me, and I know that. And I've developed such an incredible friendship with my parents. And, you know, how that really happened was, first I started seeing them as just being human beings and not these like omnipotent beings that were supposed to know everything and do everything right. Then I started to realize that they were kids once too, and that they had screwed up parents that I called grandparents, right? And that they were passing on the dysfunction that they had learned. They were just, and it was much less for us than it was for them. And then, and this is something I've learned to practice with everyone and everything in every part of my life, I started to stay focused on the things I really love about my parents, and the things I really like about my parents, and the things that my ego wanted to judge about them or make them wrong about. I just had no interest in those anymore. I just threw those in the garbage. And I just stayed focused on the things that I really liked and I really love about them. And you know what? I found a lot of stuff. There is really a lot to like and to love about my parents. And so, and then lastly, I stopped needing them to be different than they are. And I really started to embrace and love them for who they are and who they're not, and honor them as human beings, and know that they have their own struggles and their own difficulties. And we've become great, great friends. Really, I mean that sincerely. We're really great friends, and it's really fun.
what you said, though, I thought of that at that moment when you said that your mom says get a real job, but you hear, I love you and I want the best for you.
Yeah.
And I thought of that, and I thought, she just wanted to do something. You know what I mean? Even
Yeah.
though, so, but that was I thought of that. That came
Wow.
to my mind. So
Very
if I
awesome.
can try to think of those things all the time.
Well, if you can, here's what happens, and this is kind like the indicator is always how you feel. Remember, this is your compass. You know that you don't want to feel bad. So when you start to feel some pain, some energy in your chest, you got to step back, you got to stop for a minute and see what's starting to unfold unconsciously and bring it into consciousness. And be like, wait a minute, this is not, I'm in pain and it's your fault. This is, my body is telling me that I am starting to get away from my true nature of loving kindness, compassion, and patience, and get into my ego. And this is the first sign that you'll see. First sign. And so when you catch it here, it doesn't take this over. And you can say, okay, there's pain. What just happened? Let me stop, breathe. Maybe you'll know, maybe you won't. But just by bringing your attention to that pain, it starts to dissolve. It starts to lessen. It starts to not have such a strong control, because it seems to it seems to dissolve in the light of your consciousness somehow, and it seems to thrive in the background, in the shadows. You know what I mean? And it can really start driving the bus. And it's no fun. The other side of that is, what starts to happen is that you start to become skilled at not generating that pain for yourself anymore. And it starts coming less and less and fewer and far between. And when that pain is not there, you're happy, go lucky, like a little kid. You're present in the moment. You're having fun. But we're so used to being tense, we're so used to being afraid. And even just, there's a spectrum here. Even the just mild fear, the very subtle fears, they pull us down a little bit. It doesn't have to be something so obvious. It can be very subtle. And now you're starting to work with your own humanness. You see, you brought consciousness to it, and through bringing consciousness to it, you were able to navigate yourself and not allow these habitual reactions to happen automatically. Wonderful.
And I'm trying to tell myself, no sane person would want to feel horrible,
right?
And for the rest of the evening, you
Yeah.
know. And so, well, at least that's what I did yesterday, and I'm
Yeah.
going to try to keep going.
Very good, very good, very good. And our egos are so sensitive. Our egos are so sensitive. They're upset by any little thing. My God, I mean, it's just like, ugh. Did you see the way that cashier looked at me as I was walking out? And then for the next hour, it's like, who did she think she is? Did you know? And it's unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Been looking at you.
Yeah. It had nothing to do with you, right? But stepped on a tack or something, And that's a really funny thing too. Is like, how often is your mind just making that up? Did you ever go and talk to somebody about, like, there was something in your mind, right? And you were like really upset, and you feel like you had this terrible interaction with somebody, and you really thought they were mad at you and upset, and when you saw them, you could tell. And then you're like, look, I just got to say this. I got to clean this up with you. This is what happened, and I could tell you're really mad. And they're like, what are you talking about? I'm not mad at all. I wasn't even thinking about that. I don't even really remember that happening. So, and meanwhile, in your head, there's this whole thing happening that's not happening. And that's why we're here, every week studying our mind. Because all this happens in the mind. And your mind is your world. period. And you're the only one that lives in that world. We all live on the same world, but not in the same world. And that's why we can be in the same exact circumstances, having completely different experiences. Because it's not what's happening, it's what our minds are doing with what's happening that is the problem or not the problem. You know what I mean? And that's a beautiful thing. But that's why, and you know I'm always here just like beating the grass about, look, you got to practice. You got to know what you're practicing and why. Because your brain in your head is the most complex object in the known universe. Okay? There's nothing more complex than this thing. And you're just like, oh, I got a mind, so what? You know what I mean? And it's like, no, you have got to really work with it. You know what I mean? You've got to really practice. You've got to understand how it works and how you can create an environment for your mind to flourish in. And there's a lot of things that are involved in that. Exercise, diet, nutrition is so important. Everything you put in your body affects the chemistry of your brain. And when your brain chemistry goes off, there's like nothing even cognitive about that. You can be fighting your brain. I work with many female students. Females are exponentially more complicated chemically than males. A female body can manifest a whole nother being in it. You might get a good like fart out of a guy, you know what I mean? But a woman's body is amazing. But it's complex. And it's very difficult to hold in balance. And the women in this room know that way better than I do. And the guys that are married in this room know how to duck. But what happens, through your cycle, your hormones change, your chemistry changes. You cry a lot, you get upset a lot. You don't even know why. You think the whole sky is falling. Am I accurate?
Oh, and then in the 40s, you start your whole premenopause and all that. So welcome to the nightmare.
Yeah. And that is chemistry. That is how profound chemistry is. And so that part of your chemistry you really don't have much say in. But what parts of your chemistry do you? Your diet, your nutrition, what you put in your body. And hopefully, you know what I mean, if you're more on point with that, it can help maybe mitigate that a little bit or smooth that out a little bit, make so that the pendulum doesn't swing quite so far. But this is for men too. This happens for us too. There have been times where my mind just start coming off the rails. I'm like, what is going on with me right now? And like, when was the last time I ate? I only ate like 6 hours ago. I eat something and it's gone. There's nothing to solve. There's nothing to think about. And so I'm always inviting you to first look at the obvious answers first. Am I hydrated? Am I fed? Did I eat right? You know what I mean? Did I exercise? Did I meditate? Is my house clean? Are my bills paid? Is my laundry done? Is my dishes done? Those kind of things create the environment for your mind to settle down in. And those things take quite a bit of time. It takes time to do all of those things. So that's the next thing that you have to do, is you have to really create time in your day to take care of yourself. Why is it that for other people we can move mountains, but for ourselves, we can't get off the couch? Like, yeah, I'll do it tomorrow. What could be more important than taking care of yourself? Cooking good food for yourself, keeping a clean home for yourself, managing your bills and your finances as best as you possibly can for yourself. Getting up every day and creating the most amazing environment for you to exist in. Why would you not do that every day? I'm tired. Conditioning, habituation. You've never thought about it this way. We develop bad, lazy habit. Well, bad, but lazy. I don't like those words, but lazy habits, habits that don't serve us. And what happens is that conditioning and those habits get wired into our neurology. It's not that you just do it, it's that it gets wired into your brain. If you have a bad habit and you continue to participate in that bad habit, you're shoring up that wiring, you're firming up that wiring in your brain. But when you are saying no to a particular habit, you start to pull that wiring apart. And it starts to fall apart. Have you ever started an exercise regimen and you don't want to do it and you don't want to do it and you don't want to do it, and you say, okay, now I'm going to start working out, and you start working out, and in 2 weeks now all of a sudden you want to work out? And it's no. Well, you're fresh off the trail, so we'll give you a break. But but you know what, it just gets easier, right? And then you're like, oh my God, why am I not doing this all the time? What was the problem? We're very much creatures of habit, and knowing that, you can develop habits that serve you, and then you can ingrain those habits into your brain, into your wiring, and then your neurology and your biology and your physiology are all set up to support that, and it becomes easier and easier and easier and easier. My practice is relatively easy for me at this point. It's just what I am. It's just what I do. I don't really have to think about it too much anymore. It's pretty effortless. But I've trained my mind and body for many, many years. And what used to be difficult for me now is like falling off a log. You know what I mean? It's just not hard. And not only that, when you realize, okay, that it's really important for me to take care of myself and look after myself and know what the causes and conditions are to create an environment for my mind to flourish in, and then doing that every day, you start to get excited about it. You know what I mean? You start to feel like, wow, I've got to make time for this now. Because that's one of the biggest problems for people. I don't have the time. I don't have the time. You don't have the time to take care of yourself. Your house needs maintenance. Your car needs maintenance. Everything needs maintenance. But your body and your brain, you expect to just work all the time. Very, very important that as you go forward, you begin to structure your life such that there is time for you to take care of you. For some reason in our society, if you're taking care of yourself, you're selfish. Then be selfish. There's nothing wrong with being selfish. If everybody was taking care of themselves, then other people wouldn't have to take care of them, right? So let's hear some more thoughts from you guys. You have anything to share with me? To talk in the mic.
Well, come on. I'm sure you have something. I don't know how insightful it is.
Is it on the green light?
Yeah, I don't know how insightful it is, but I am trying to use this kind of as a catalyst. I feel like, okay, I'm back, so I want to really hold these good routines. I mean, when you're on the trail, when it's light out, you wake up. When it's dark, you go to sleep.
Yeah.
You feed yourself when you're hungry. You stay hydrated. You're walking. And the best thing about it is my mom and I really pay attention to how cool it is to be out there, and we just appreciate the beauty in nature and all the little teeny things that we find and see along the way, and the people that you meet, and just how everybody just helps each other. I mean, anything that you can do for somebody else, you do it. You just do it. So yeah, I'm trying to bring that home and set up those routines so that it just, I always think of setting up the causes and conditions for my mind to be peaceful. And so when I'm thinking about what do I need to be doing right now, well, what do I need to set up so that I can stay? What?
Just set up the same condition.
I think it's very easy to be lazy.
Yeah.
I find it very easy to be lazy. And so I don't know how to fight that.
Especially when you feel good, right? Because then there's no problem to fix. Do you know what I see?
Before I was training for the trail, and so I was like,
Yeah.
I have to get up this
Yeah,
morning. I have to go
right.
for that run because I'm got to get ready for the
Right.
trail. But yeah, so.
And it's interesting is that a lot of times when I see people is when their hair's on fire. Tom, oh my God, I'm coming off the rails. Jeez, I need your help right now. Help me, And I always tell people, I don't want to be your fireman. Don't come here with your hair on fire. I put the fire out, and then I never see you again until your hair's on fire again, and then I put the fire out. It's like, that's the thing. Like, the best time to practice is when you feel good. Why? Because everything changes. And you know that some bumpy road is going to come sooner or later. Now, if when you're feeling good, your practice is very good, the momentum of your practice will carry you right through that bumpy road. But if you feel good and you say, okay, now I don't have to practice anymore, and then some change come and some problem come, then you practice again. Why? Because, the suffering is your motivation. Isn't that weird? I mean, suffering has a purpose. There's no satsang without suffering. My suffering, your suffering. And the Dalai Lama said it very well when he said it's like a guitar string, right? Too much tension, no music. Too little tension, no music. Too much suffering, no good. Too little suffering, no good. Because you get lazy because you don't have anything to motivate you. So the littlest bit of discomfort, when you start to observe yourself more and more on a more subtle level, it will start to motivate you. Like I observe myself on a very subtle level now. And I know when I'm just subtly off. And so I can catch it there and bring it back up. It used to be I would have to go off and then boom and then off the cliff. And then I'm like, okay, now I got to start doing it differently. Now it's like, I know what that was, I recognize when I'm starting to veer from my path. So what do you think your biggest challenge is in coming off the trail, coming back to this life, and continuing those types of habits?
It's just so easy to be lazy. It's so easy to turn on the TV and check out. And
you know what it is for me? Like, and I solved this, but it's actually creating the time to actually do it and creating enough time to do it. Many of you who have been around for a while know from 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. most days are mine to take care of myself. 3 hours. Why? Because I don't want to rush through it, for one. That's the last thing I want to do is rush through my self-care. And two, I want to set myself up in the morning for the rest of the day. Once I get my mind where I want it, the rest of the day is really simple for me. A typical day, it's not always like this. Now, I don't want you to hear that I'm perfect about it or anything like that, but a typical day, like when I'm really on point, is I'll get up, I'll do 10 to 32 miles on my bike, and come back to the gym, lift weights, jump in the pool, because I have a gym where I live. Some of you have been there. Jump in the pool, cool off, wake up. Now I'm completely awake. Now remember, meditation is a very high state of alertness. So that's when I like to meditate, because I'm really alert. I sit right there by the intercoastal where I live and meditate. Get a little sun, head in the house, steel cut oats, bananas, walnuts, and then I'll make my juices for the day. And I'll grind up into a juice lemon, apple, pear, cucumber, carrot, celery, ginger root, turmeric root, kale, Italian parsley, cilantro, beets with the greens, and I'll grind that up, and I generally make about 6 cups of that, right? So I have 2 mason jars. I have a little 2-cup mason jar. I fill that up. I put a little black pepper in there because that's good to release the curcumin and the turmeric. I put that one in the fridge. The other one, I just take whatever's left. It's a quart mason jar, and I just fill it up. And then I just start nipping at it. As now it's 10 o'clock. Now I start my day and my work. And I'm nipping on that. And so I finish that one. Then around 2 o'clock, I'll start drinking the other one. And then I'll make myself a really nice, healthy dinner, like, some fish, rice, green vegetables, something like that. Have a healthy dinner. How do you think I feel when I live that way? Unbelievable. And what I've done is I have set my life up around my self-care. My practice comes first. And everything else gets fit in around my practice. For most people, they try to jam their practice into their life. And so as time goes on, and you're shaping your life, you may not be able to do it today, you may not be able to do it this year, but maybe in the future sometime, you will be able to create it that way. And one of the reasons that I always wanted to have my own business, this is a vocation and a charity really, but I can make my own time. I can live my life the way that I want to live it. And when I do what's best for me, I'm a better mentor. I'm a better teacher. And I can sit here and be absolutely present with you until 9 o'clock at night because of the way that I took care of myself today. And that's what's important to me. The energy that I bring to this room is the energy of the room. If I'm tired, if I'm out of it, most of you know me pretty well by now, you will know it in a second. What's wrong, Tom? But I am always here, and I am always very present to you, and you feel it. And you know what that does? That makes you present. When I'm here with you, you're here with me. One conscious person changed the consciousness of a room. And so you really have to structure your life in such a way that you can live this practice. And guess what? Then you feel great all the time. It's not like I'm asking you to do some chore or something like that. I'm saying, hey, here's what makes you feel good. Do this, you feel good. And for some people, it's just not real because, you can't live that way. I don't like the way most people live. I don't know who thought, I know who thought of this. You can talk about the Rockefellers and how they set up our education system and, to make, who was it, George Carlin used to say, right, just smart enough to run the machines and just dumb enough not to know any better about what we're doing to them, and that's how our education system is set up, you get up, there's a bell, you do this, a bell, we're Pavlov's dogs, You can live your life however you want. There are no rules. What's important to you? What makes you feel the best? How do you want your life? Do you count in your own life? Do you matter in your own life? Are you the first thing in your own life? Because you should be. I just should on you. I hate when I do that. You're the most important thing in your life. If you take care of you, nobody has to take care of you. And you're present and able to take care of others. And most importantly, you become more conscious. And you are part of this world. You are not the world. The world doesn't revolve around you. You are part of this world. And so when you become more conscious, the world becomes more conscious. And the best thing that you can do for the world is become more conscious, because the world needs to come conscious. The problems that we have in the world are because of our mass egoic identification with mind. As long as egos exist, those problems exist. I've got 2,500 years of history to prove me right. Just been going round and round ever since. But more and more people are becoming interested in things like this. More and more people are becoming interested in dissolving their egos and are starting to walk down this path. And we are on the cutting edge here of the evolution of humanity. And your job is just to practice, is to come into consciousness, is to dissolve the ego and then help others do that. It's a wonderful sadhana. And it's really fun. And I was sitting on Peanut Island watching the fire until 2 o'clock in the morning in complete bliss. It was just amazing. Your state is just joy. And not joy for any reason. It's because your true nature is shining through unabated by your mind. You're not becoming anything. You're letting go of everything that cannot be you. To be left with that which cannot be let go of. It is ineffable. It cannot be described in words. The awareness that is aware of everything outside you, and the awareness that is aware of everything inside you. Shall we meditate? Kim, did you have something that you wanted to say? Okay.
No, I just was saying I saw something I was going to say is a good tip for exercising every day. I have arthritis, so it's hard for me, but sometimes even if I just get on the elliptical for 3 minutes and then a good song comes on, the next thing I know, I'm on for 20 minutes. So
Yeah.
I saw somebody on TV who was saying that they saw another person who vowed that they would do some form of exercise every day. It can't be like, walk into your mailbox. It has to be a little bit effective. And I never was successful with this. But it sounds so good to just say, do something every day. Even if it's walk around the block,
Yeah.
maybe a little more than the mailbox, but I'm just, if you commit yourself to every single day a small thing, it's easier than saying I'm going to work for the next 6 weeks doing this, because I can never see 6 weeks ahead of me.
Yeah.
I can only see 3 minutes right now today.
I only live my life one day at a time. The only day that I'm living is today. It's not that I don't plan for the future and I'm not being irresponsible in any way. But I just want to make today the best that I could possibly make it. And the interesting thing about why that works is it's easier to train every day than it is to train like 3 days a week. Because if you're training 3 days a week, then you got this whole bargaining thing that goes on in your head. Well, it's a little rainy out, so I'll do Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday this week. Well, it's still raining, I'll do Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And next thing you know, But what you need to be able to do in your practice is compress and expand it into the time and energy that you have. Listen to your body. Some days you can do less, very little. Some days you can do more. But the reason that is important is not for what it does for your body. It trains your mind and it starts to lay in that neurology that, look, we train every day. And so it's not, you don't get up and think, well, am I or am, no, we are. Just a matter of when and how much. And like you say, it could be just a walk around the block to satisfy that. And that's what those Zen cards are and those Zen lists are.
You'll get halfway around the block and you'll be like, this feels so good.
Right, yeah.
Like, I'm just going to go the rest of it. Or a good song comes on and I'm just like, okay, I'm going to go the rest of it.
Yeah.
I feel pretty good.
Getting, they say the key to working out is just getting your gym clothes on. If you can get the gym clothes on, you're like 99% of the way there.
I was thinking of getting a dog.
Really?
Because I'll get out to exercise a dog. I'll do it for the responsibility.
Well, that's a lot of responsibility. That's a little like, 15-year commitment right there. You know what I mean? What kind of dog? Golden Retriever? I love the Goldens.
Well, since I voted to disband the Greyhound racing in West Palm Beach, I figure I should adopt a Greyhound.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
But I'm not doing it yet, so.
Oh, he's, yeah.
We had to find the Greyhound.
Wow.
It ran out the door.
All right. So does anybody, you want to stand up and stretch for a minute? If anybody would like to come and sit on a cushion to meditate, you are welcome to do that. I hate when you leave. Stay. Stay. I'll see you. Okay. So sit comfortably, and if you need a second to just kind of wiggle around, make sure that you're in a comfortable position that's not going to distract you in this meditation. And as you hear the sound of the bell, just let it clear your mind. Bring your attention to this present moment. Take a few moments to relax yourself in your own way. I encourage you to breathe more and more slowly until you're breathing as slowly as possible without it being at all uncomfortable as you allow yourself to relax. In our meditation practice, we're practicing transcending the mind. Going beyond the mind. And so you first must realize that you are not the mind. That you are the one that is aware of the play of the mind. When you bring your attention to your mind right now, just notice what's arising in the mind. Just observe it for a few moments. Now see if you can realize that you are the awareness that is aware of what's arising in the mind. Don't think about it. Just be it. You are it. Realize that you are the one that is aware of what's coming and going in the mind. When a thought comes and a thought goes, you don't go. You are the one that remains and is aware that that thought is gone. And then the next thought comes and you're aware that that one has come. And then that one goes. But you remain. The thoughts come and go, but you don't come and go. Just practice that for a few more moments. Now that you're realizing that you are the awareness, you are the watcher of the thoughts in your mind, begin to realize that thoughts are not the only thing in the mind. That there are moments, there are spaces of silence. and the thoughts are arising in what is really a vast space of silence. And become more interested in the silence and less interested in the thoughts. And rest in this silence peacefully and get very comfortable in it. And notice that your nature of loving kindness, peace and joy just rises unabated, unobstructed by the mind. And just reside in this state until you hear the bell. I love you all very much. And it's always an honor to share this time and space with you. Free hugs at the end of class to whoever wants. And I hope to see you again next week.